Welcome back to the channel, folks, where we dive into the wild, wonderful world of men transforming into women in all kinds of fascinating ways. If that's your vibe, don't forget to smash that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Now let's jump right into today's story. Emma shifted slightly, still feeling awkward in the skirt and heels as Dr. Langford worked. The fabric rustled softly against her smooth legs, a constant reminder of her transformed state. Her ankles ached slightly from the unfamiliar elevation of the heels, and she found herself constantly recalibrating her balance as her weight shifted. How do women do this all day? She wondered, surreptitiously stretching her calf muscles. The heels were modest by most standards. Only 2 inches, but they altered her entire posture, tilting her pelvis forward and forcing her spine into a more pronounced curve. She glanced at Claire, who was lying comfortably on the medical bed, looking as relaxed as ever. Claire had worn similar heels into the clinic, but showed none of the discomfort Emma felt. Years of practice, presumably. Dr. Langford continued the egg extraction procedure with practiced efficiency, her movements precise and confident. The silence in the room was broken only by the soft beeping of medical equipment and the occasional instruction from Dr. Langford to her assistant. "You're awfully quiet," Claire observed, turning her head slightly to look at Emma. "Overthinking things again." "Just tallying all the ways my body feels alien," Emma replied wryly. "It's quite a comprehensive list." Claire chuckled softly. "Give it time. Soon this body will feel as natural as your old one did." "That's what I'm afraid of," Emma admitted, though there was less apprehension in her tone than she might have expected. After a brief pause, Emma finally answered the doctor's question. "It's weird," she admitted, her voice softer than she expected. The higher pitch still surprised her sometimes, especially when she spoke after a period of silence. But at the same time, it feels right. Even as she said it, Emma realized the truth in her words. Despite the disorientation, despite the constant adjustments, there was a strange sense of correctness to her transformation, as if the pieces were falling into alignment in ways she hadn't anticipated. Dr. Langford raised an eyebrow while continuing the procedure. "That's a good sign. A lot of people in transition, whether naturally or through medical intervention, struggle with that feeling. But you sound at peace with it." "Peace is a strong word," Emma countered, shifting her weight again, and wincing slightly as her heel caught on the polished floor. "Let's say I'm in a state of ongoing negotiation with my new reality." "A diplomatic approach," Dr. Langford noted, with a small smile. "Diplomacy is necessary when your body stages a complete coup without consulting you first," Emma replied, glancing down at her developing figure. Emma let out a small, nervous laugh. "I wouldn't say peaceful, exactly. I mean, I'm still getting used to everything. How I move, how I feel, even just existing in this new body. And stage 2 is happening in a few days." The thought sent a ripple of nervous anticipation through her. Stage 2, the development of full secondary sexual characteristics. Her body would undergo another dramatic transformation, becoming fully feminine in ways that were still difficult to imagine. "Ah, yes. Stage 2, Dr. Langford nodded, her attention still focused on the procedure she was performing. "That's when the hormonal cascade really kicks in. The changes you've experienced so far will seem subtle by comparison." "Delightful," Emma muttered. "Just when I was getting used to these minor alterations, like having an entirely different skeletal structure and growing breasts." Claire laughed softly from her position on the table. "The breast development has barely begun, trust me. Wait until stage 2 hits, you'll wake up wondering who attached water balloons to your chest overnight." "A charming analogy," Emma replied dryly. "I can hardly wait." She exhaled, her delicate fingers nervously playing with the hem of her skirt. I know it's going to be strange again. Waking up and being even more like Claire. I'll have curves. My body will feel completely different again, and I'll have to adjust all over. Her fingers traced unconscious patterns on the soft fabric, the tactile sensation both soothing and distracting. These small nervous habits had developed over the past week, touching her hair, adjusting her clothing, running her fingers along her collarbones. Ways of physically reminding herself of the changes, of grounding herself in this new reality. The hormone surge will be significant, Dr. Langford confirmed, her voice clinical but not unsympathetic. You'll experience rapid fat redistribution to create a more typically female pattern: breasts, hips, thighs, buttocks. Your waist will likely narrow further, and your face will become even more feminine. So basically, I'm going from ambiguous teenager to definite woman overnight, Emma summarized. That's an accurate assessment, Dr. Langford agreed. Stage 2 is when you'll cross the threshold from could be perceived as either gender to unmistakably female. And presumably when people stop giving me those confused looks in public, Emma added. The ones that say I can't quite place what's off about this person. Claire glanced over at her with a reassuring smile, but didn't interrupt. There was something comforting in that smile, a silent acknowledgement of shared experience, even if Claire had never undergone this specific transformation. Emma hesitated for a moment before continuing, her voice a little more vulnerable now. But, despite all that, it's been nice, she admitted. I feel really close to Claire and John through all of this. More than I have with anyone in years. It feels like we're a real family. The words surprised her even as she spoke them. My. But they were true. This bizarre situation had created a bond between them that transcended conventional relationships. They were connected now, not just by their shared goal of creating a child, but by this intense, intimate experience of transformation and rebirth. You've certainly seen me at my most vulnerable, she added with a slight smile. Hard to maintain normal social boundaries when you're helping someone through a complete biological metamorphosis. True, Claire agreed. There's nothing like helping someone through puberty, especially accelerated, artificial puberty, to create lasting bonds. She looked down at her hands, her voice softening. I haven't felt that since I was a teenager, and that was over 12 years ago now. The admission hung in the air, fragile and unexpected. Emma hadn't intended to reveal quite so much, but there was something about this strange situation. Lying in a medical facility, her body transforming, her identity in flux, that made ordinary restraint seem pointless. Claire's smile grew warmer, her eyes filled with something gentle. Something that told Emma she felt the same way. It's been special for me too, Claire admitted quietly. I never expected this process to create such a connection. When we started, it was just a practical arrangement, you helping us have a child. But it's become something more. A weird, scientifically impossible family unit, Emma suggested with a small laugh. Something like that, Claire agreed, her expression soft. Though I think scientifically unprecedented is more accurate than impossible, given that we're literally making it happen. Dr. Langford, who had been listening while finishing up the egg extraction, gave a small nod. That kind of emotional connection is important, she said. It'll make this transition easier for you. Having people you trust, who love and support you. Is that the scientific consensus on radical genetic transformation? Emma asked, her tone gently teasing. That it's better with friends. Actually, yes, Dr. Langford replied, completely serious despite Emma's light tone. All medical data suggests that transformation of any kind, whether it's recovery from physical trauma, adaptation to chronic illness, or gender transition, is significantly more successful when the patient has strong social support. Good thing I moved in with my DNA donor. Then, Emma quipped, can't get much more supportive than literally becoming her. There are additional physiological benefits too, Dr. Langford continued, setting aside one of her instruments. Close proximity to Claire means your body is constantly exposed to her pheromones, which helps align your own hormonal development. Your transformation is being subtly guided by her biological presence. So I'm not just looking like Claire, I'm starting to smell like her too, Emma asked, raising an eyebrow. In a manner of speaking, Dr. Langford confirmed. Though it's more complex than that. Your body is tuning itself to her biological rhythms, everything from sleep cycles to stress responses. Fascinating and slightly terrifying, Emma muttered. I'm becoming a biological echo. Emma nodded, her chest feeling lighter. Despite the clinical setting and the bizarre nature of their situation, there was something undeniably comforting about this strange kinship they'd developed. All right, Dr. Langford said, as she carefully set her tools aside. That's it, Claire. You're all done. Claire let out a small sigh of relief. Well, that wasn't too bad, says the woman, who just had multiple eggs harvested from her ovaries, Emma commented. Your pain threshold must be impressive. It's uncomfortable, but not exactly excruciating, Claire replied, sitting up slowly and adjusting her medical gown. Besides, it's worth it. Each of those eggs represents a possible future for us, for all of us. She sat up slowly, glancing at Emma again, her smile never fading. There was something profound in that exchange of glances, an acknowledgement of the extraordinary journey they were undertaking together, creating new life while simultaneously recreating an existing one. Emma met her gaze, and for the first time in a long time, she felt truly safe. Not just physically safe, but emotionally secure, accepted and valued in a way she hadn't experienced in years. This bizarre transformation, with all its discomforts and disorientation, had paradoxically given her a sense of belonging that had been missing from her life. Now, Dr. Langford said, turning her attention fully to Emma, let's examine you and see exactly how the transformation is progressing. I want to run some tests before stage 2 begins. Emma nodded, steeling herself for the clinical examination to come. But the anxiety she might have felt was tempered by the presence of Claire, whose supportive gaze reminded her that she wasn't facing this alone. Whatever changes came next, and they would be significant, she would have people beside her who understood, who cared, who would help her navigate this unprecedented transformation. Over the next couple of days, the dynamic between Emma, Claire, and John shifted subtly at first, but undeniably. Emma noticed it during breakfast the morning after the clinic visit. Claire had set out a glass of orange juice alongside Emma's coffee, something she hadn't done before. Vitamin C, Claire had explained when Emma raised an eyebrow. Your immune system needs all the support it can get while your body is transforming. It was a small thing, but it marked the beginning of a shift. Claire, after hearing what Emma had said at the clinic, seemed to take on a more motherly role without even realizing it. She fussed over Emma constantly, making sure she ate proper meals, reminding her to take care of her skin, and even brushing and styling her hair in the mornings. You have my hair texture, but none of my expertise, Claire explained one morning, gently working a brush through Emma's long blonde locks. Left to your own devices, you'd walk around looking like you stuck your finger in an electrical socket. I managed to take care of my hair for 35 years, Emma protested, though she didn't pull away from Claire's ministrations. Short male hair, Claire corrected, separating strands for a braid. That's like saying you know how to drive a golf cart, so you can handle a Formula One race car. Totally different degree of complexity. At first, Emma found it a little embarrassing, but deep down she liked it. It was comforting. There was something oddly soothing about having someone else take care of these details, someone who understood this body better than she did, someone who had inhabited a version of it for decades. You're enjoying being pampered, Claire observed on the second morning, noticing Emma's relaxed expression as she applied moisturizer to her face. "I'm tolerating it," Emma replied, though the slight smile betrayed her. "For scientific purposes." "Of course," Claire agreed solemnly. "The scientific method demands you sit perfectly still while I apply this serum. For data collection." John, on the other hand, was still adjusting. He had spent years knowing Emma as Michael, and despite how much had already changed, he still had moments where he would pause, as if his brain was trying to catch up. Emma would catch him staring sometimes, his expression caught between fascination and confusion, as if he were trying to reconcile the person he'd known with the young woman now sitting across from him at dinner. "It's like seeing a ghost," he admitted on the first evening after the clinic visit, "but not in a creepy way. I look at you and see echoes of Michael, but wrapped in this completely different package. Imagine how I feel." Emma had replied dryly. "I look in the mirror and see someone else entirely." But to his credit, he never once treated Emma like a stranger. If anything, he had become more protective, always keeping an eye on her when they were out, ensuring she didn't trip in her heels or get overwhelmed in public. The first time they'd gone out to dinner as a trio, Emma had noticed a group of young men at the bar, watching her with obvious interest. Before she could even process their attention, John had casually repositioned himself between Emma and their line of sight, his posture subtly but unmistakably protective. "They'll think I'm your boyfriend," he'd murmured when Emma gave him a questioning look. "Isn't that going to be awkward when you and Claire start holding hands?" Emma had asked, amused. "They'll think I'm a lucky bastard with two beautiful women," John had replied with a wink. "I'm willing to take that hit to my reputation." And then there were the little things. John would pull out chairs for her at restaurants, offer his jacket when it got chilly, and even tease her like an older brother would. Careful walking in those, he smirked one evening when they were heading out for dinner, nodding toward Emma's strappy heels. "I don't want to have to scrape you off the pavement." Emma scoffed, placing her hands on her hips, a gesture that had come to feel surprisingly natural in her new body. "I've been walking for years." "Yeah, but not in those." He pointed at her pumps, clearly amused. "Those aren't shoes. They're architectural challenges with ankle straps." Claire, of course, had just smirked and whispered, "He's not wrong. I thought you were supposed to be on my side in this transformation business." "I'm on the side of not having to carry you home when you twist an ankle," Claire replied sweetly. "Those are 3-inch heels, and you've been walking in them for exactly 2 days." Emma had rolled her eyes, but she couldn't help smiling. Despite the teasing, or perhaps because of it, she felt included, accepted, even cherished in an odd way. The jokes and banter created a sense of normalcy amid the profound strangeness of her situation. The three of them had settled into an easy rhythm. Claire and Emma spent most mornings together. Claire teaching her little things like how to properly apply makeup, how to coordinate outfits, and even how to walk properly in heels without looking like a newborn deer. "It's all in the hips," Claire explained on their second morning practice session. "You're still walking from your shoulders like a man. Women lead with their hips, not their chests." "That sounds vaguely inappropriate," Emma had commented, attempting to follow Claire's swaying demonstration down the hallway. "Only if you make it inappropriate," Claire replied with a laugh. "It's just physics. Your center of gravity is lower now, so your walk naturally shifts to accommodate that." Emma had practiced diligently, finding that once she stopped overthinking it, her body seemed to know intuitively how to move. Her new skeletal structure, with its wider hips and different pelvic tilt, naturally encouraged a more feminine gait. It was just a matter of letting her body lead instead of fighting it. "Not bad," Claire had nodded approvingly after watching Emma navigate the living room in heels without wobbling. "You look almost natural. Just stop clenching your jaw. You're walking, not diffusing a bomb." John, meanwhile, made sure Emma still had a bit of her old self intact. He took her out driving, helped her adjust to her new strength and reflexes, and even taught her self-defense techniques just in case. "You might look delicate," he told her one afternoon, holding up his hands for her to practice hitting, "but that doesn't mean you have to be helpless." They were in the backyard, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the grass. John had insisted on these lessons after noticing how men looked at Emma when they went out. The automatic assessment, the calculated interest, the occasional too long stare. "I used to be able to bench press twice my body weight," Emma reminded him, eyeing his raised palm skeptically. "Now I struggle to open jars? This feels like a significant downgrade in the self-defense department." "Different body. Different techniques," John replied. "You're not going to overpower anyone anymore, but you can still protect yourself. It's about leverage and precision now, not brute strength." He demonstrated a move that used an attacker's momentum against them, showing how even Emma's diminished strength could be effective if applied correctly. "Besides," he added with a wink, "no one's going to expect someone who looks like you to know how to fight. The element of surprise is a powerful advantage." Emma had grinned, throwing a surprisingly decent punch at his palm. The impact was solid, her technique better than even she had expected. Something about the movement felt right, natural, despite her transformed body. "Atta girl," John said with a nod, genuine approval in his eyes. "You're a quick study." The praise warmed her unexpectedly. There was something validating about mastering a new skill in this unfamiliar body, proof that despite all the changes, her core abilities, her capacity to learn and adapt, remained intact. It was those moments, those little things, that made Emma realize something important. She wasn't just changing physically. She was becoming part of something bigger. A family. The realization struck her during a quiet evening at home. They were all in the living room, Claire curled up in an armchair with a book, John sprawled on the couch watching a basketball game with the volume low. Emma sitting cross-legged on the floor, painting her nails under Claire's occasional supervision. "You missed a spot," Claire noted, glancing up from her book to examine Emma's handiwork. "Left pinky, outer edge. Nail polish is unnecessarily complicated," Emma grumbled, carefully correcting the error. "Why can't it just stay where you put it?" "Welcome to the wonderful world of female grooming," Claire replied with a smile, "where nothing is ever as simple as it looks." "You're doing better than Claire did her first time," John commented, eyes still on the game. "She got more polish on the coffee table than on her actual nails." "That was one time," Claire protested, throwing a small pillow at him. "And I was 14. I still had to refinish that table," John reminded her with a grin, catching the pillow easily. The easy banter, the shared history, the comfortable silence that fell between exchanges, it all created a sense of belonging that Emma hadn't expected. And for the first time in over a decade, she didn't feel alone. After her parents had died in that car accident 12 years ago, she built walls around herself, focusing on career, on achievement, on anything but human connection. But somehow, this bizarre transformation had broken through those defenses, creating space for a different kind of intimacy. It was on the third day that the next phase made itself known. Emma woke up feeling slightly off-kilter, a subtle warmth suffusing her body. Nothing dramatic. Just a hint that something was changing beneath the surface. "You look flushed," Claire observed over breakfast, studying Emma's face with concern. "Are you feeling all right?" "Just a little warm," Emma replied, pushing her food around her plate. Her appetite had diminished overnight, replaced by a vague queasiness that made eating unappealing. "Probably nothing." But Claire's expression remained concerned. "Your eyes look glassy, and you're barely touching your food." "I'm fine," Emma insisted, though even she could hear the lack of conviction in her voice. "Just didn't sleep well." Claire exchanged a glance with John, who had been quietly observing from across the table. Phase 2 typically begins with similar symptoms to Phase 1, he noted carefully. Elevated temperature, decreased appetite, general malaise. I know what you're thinking, Emma said, but Dr. Langford said Phase 2 wouldn't start for at least another day or two. These things aren't always precise, Claire replied, reaching across to place a hand on Emma's forehead. You're definitely warmer than normal. Despite her protests, Emma allowed herself to be convinced to take it easy that morning. But by lunchtime, she was feeling more herself, the warmth having subsided enough that she insisted they keep their plans for the afternoon. The three of them had gone out for lunch, sitting at a cozy cafe on the patio, enjoying the warm afternoon air. Emma had been feeling off since the morning. Nothing obvious, just a slight warmth in her skin and an odd fatigue that she couldn't shake. I'm telling you, it was the funniest thing I've ever seen, John was saying, recounting a story from work. This guy tried to convince me that his check engine light was just a suggestion. Claire laughed, the sound bright against the background noise of the cafe. People will rationalize anything to avoid a repair bill. Emma tried to focus on the conversation, but the lingering warmth from the morning had returned with a vengeance. Her skin felt tight, almost uncomfortably so, as if it were shrinking around her. It's nothing, she told herself firmly. Just the heat of the day. Nothing to do with Phase 2. But even as she tried to convince herself, she felt a strange tingling sensation spreading across her chest, almost like pins and needles, but deeper, centered around her already developing breasts. Claire was mid-sentence, talking about plans for the weekend, when Emma suddenly wobbled in her seat. The world tilted alarmingly, the cafe patio seeming to shift and slide around her. Sound became muffled, as if she were underwater, Claire's voice fading to a distant murmur. John, always observant, frowned. Hey, you good? His voice cut through the fog, bringing Emma briefly back to clarity. She blinked, pressing a hand to her forehead. She felt hot. Not just warm, burning. It was as if someone had lit a fire beneath her skin, heat radiating outward from her core. Her clothes, light as they were, suddenly felt restrictive, almost painful against her hypersensitive skin. Her breath hitched, and a wave of dizziness washed over her. I think I'm going to, she began, but couldn't finish the sentence as another surge of heat claimed her. Claire's eyes widened. Oh no. The recognition in Claire's voice was immediate. She knew exactly what was happening. She'd seen these symptoms before, had been there for Phase 1. The flushed skin, the disorientation, the sudden onset of fever. All hallmarks of the transformation accelerating. Emma swallowed hard. I think it's happening again. The words came out strained, her voice already changing as her throat tightened with the rising fever. Each syllable felt like an effort, her body rapidly diverting resources away from normal function toward the imminent transformation. It's too soon, she thought frantically. Dr. Langford said we had more time. Claire didn't waste a second. She dropped money on the table, grabbed Emma's arm, and pulled her up. We need to get her home. Now. Her voice was calm but carried an undercurrent of urgency that brooked no argument. John was on his feet immediately, car keys already in hand. Emma felt herself being guided away from the table, her legs moving automatically, though each step felt increasingly uncertain. The ground seemed to shift beneath her feet, her balance compromised by the rapidly escalating fever. John was already moving, guiding Emma toward the car as her body shook with fever, her skin prickling with the telltale signs of Phase 2 beginning. I've got you, he murmured, his arm firm around her waist as he supported her trembling form. Just a few more steps to the car. Emma was vaguely aware of people watching, curious glances, concerned looks as she stumbled through the cafe patio. In some distant part of her mind, she wondered what they thought was happening. A drunk girl. Someone ill. Or did they somehow sense the profound unnatural transformation beginning just beneath her skin? The air outside felt shockingly cold against her fevered skin, though logically she knew it was a mild day. Her perception was already altering, her senses heightening and distorting as her body prepared for the next stage of metamorphosis. Almost there. Claire's voice came from her other side, guiding her toward John's car parked just down the street. Emma barely registered any of it. The fever was consuming her awareness, narrowing her focus to the sensation of fire beneath her skin. She could feel changes beginning already, subtle shifts in her tissue, minute adjustments in her bone structure. The strange, almost painful tingling in her chest, intensifying with each heartbeat. All she knew was that everything was about to change again. Phase 2, the development of full secondary sexual characteristics. Her body would become undeniably, unmistakably female, completing the external transformation that had begun a week ago. As John helped her into the back seat of the car, Emma caught a glimpse of her reflection in the window. Flushed cheeks, glassy eyes, lips parted with shallow breaths. She looked feverish, vulnerable, already altered from the woman who had sat down to lunch just minutes ago. "Stay with us, Emma," Claire said, sliding in beside her and pressing a cool hand to her forehead. "We'll get you home." But Emma was already slipping away, consciousness fading as her body surrendered to the transformation. The last thing she was aware of was the gentle pressure of Claire's hand holding hers, a lifeline to reality as the fever claimed her completely.